that you've gathered by now that goals are natural. That when we make a goal just to get lunch, and then when our lizard brain takes over, we make another goal, lay on the rock, Or we go to extremes and we work really hard for months and months and months so we can fly somewhere and lay on a rock or a beach. Beach makes it better. Beach makes it okay. The poet Deborah Holland says, "When our ship comes in, we shall be overjoyed. Count all our blessings and dream of another place." So it's natural for us to make goals. So it's curious that people would want to learn how to have goals, make goals. And I said I attempted at an answer at that is that people get pretty good at the sensory-based ones, the near-term ones, like lunch. But those larger goals, like called life, the pictures get a little too big, they're a little too fuzzy, and it's unclear sometimes how we're going to sort where we want to go with our heart's desire. And to do that, we imagine a possibility. We say we're looking forward to something. Again, the language helps us to understand this. And when we say that, we're not actually talking about something in the room, but something in our mind's eye. And of course, as we know, the people, their focal plane will stop at a certain distance where they're looking at it and so forth. What I'd like to do in this next moment here is to externalize this. And to do that, I'm going to utilize this board. I'm going to turn it around this way so that it can become some point in the future. And then I'm going to invite one of you to come up here and discover more about your goal. Now, if it's any encouragement, doing this exercise makes your goal more inevitable. If that's not enough encouragement, would you like to come up? Yeah, come on up. Bring your goal. I'll need you to take it out of the notebook. This is always kind of cute, too. So people, I'm looking for my goal. But again, I did actually ask for the picture this time, so. You actually won't be saying much.
Okay, great.
All right. I'm going to, okay, oh, that's not people. Music. All right. One of the things I note sometimes, and this happens in business conferences, I sometimes have the big mahogany table, and I'll have people drawing pictures. And I'll just toss a bunch of colored pens, not crayons, though I like to do that, a bunch of colored pens into the middle of the table, and some people will begin to use the color, and some people won't. But think about this, that if you're only using the line drawing, you're not activating as much of the brain as with the color. There are fewer distinctions. So very often, and I might mention this to you, would be that the next thing to do would be to color this in a way that appealed to you, because that's actually adding more distinctions to your future. Now, what I'm going to have you do is take that and place it at the proper height and place for you, and then just how you relate to it. Now, right here, this moment, you get a whole lot of information, because if this person was really self-oriented, he would have put the goal up there and then stood at whatever distance he felt comfortable from it. But I already know, because of the way he put it up there and then in turn to me, that at least one of two things is the case, maybe both, which is that there's some other orientation, because he oriented to me and the goal, and maybe this is a response also to authority. Does that make sense? Right, if this was Donald Trump, we wouldn't even need to be here. Only the camera and Donald, or people like that. So what I'd like you to do is to relate to your goal as if you're on your own. And how far away are you from your goal?
I don't understand,
And what's comfortable in terms of looking at it?
anywhere. Here would be fine.
Is there fine?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll have you stand here.
Okay.
So here's the deal, is that people will unconsciously pick the distance from their goal. This distance represents the amount of time. You see, in the outside world, time is space and space is time. You just stand there a moment. That is that I can say, how far is it downtown? And you can go, half a mile. Or walking, you could say, 15 minutes, drive, 3 minutes. So we have different ways relating the distance. On the inside, we have a situation where space equals time. Now, I want each of you to think, how much time is that before he tells us how much time it is to that goal? So you can think for yourself what that distance represents. And now, how much time is that to your goal? Like in the sense of how much time it's going to take you to reach that goal?
Maybe
Days, months, weeks, a half a year, 6 months.
Yeah.
So this is 6 months here, is what you're saying. And what if we move you back a little bit?
Gonna be longer?
I don't know. Just what's your sense if there's more distance?
It seems like it'd be longer.
Okay. Don't want to move back, do you?
No.
No, and this goes to the thing that they teach submodalities, like where's the picture and how high is it and so forth. As if people have to learn how to do this, you can see people already know. Every one of you already knows how to do this. You're internally organized already. Does that make sense? Just take you back to your goal. I just want to point out something else. That this is where he relates to it in terms of the height. If I gently take this off here, what if I go something just happened.
Well, yeah. It feels like it's like a less of, or it'll take longer, or less of a priority.
Less of a priority, probably, yeah. Now, what about if we go this way?
Feels like, well.
Just notice what happens. There you go. What was that?
Feels like it's going farther away also.
Farther away. But it's not. It's going up. But that point is, we go back to the frog's eye and the frog's brain. And his brain, moving this in this way, affects his thinking about the goal. This is an anchor, an external anchor for his goal. Okay? Now, I have a different lesson today. And let's see if I can put, is that where it was? Is that right? Uh-huh. So pretty exact, this guy, too. This will also come out in something that we talk about in terms of detail orientation, for example. Okay. So communication's redundant. It's redundant. People can't not communicate not only in terms of their voices, but in the way they relate to the world, when you know to notice it. So what I'm going to suggest here is that most people's orientation to their goal is going and getting the goal. Is that right? So I want you to just go ahead and take those little bit of steps forward in whatever way lets you know. If you touch it or bring it to you, somehow let yourself know you got the goal, right? That's how you do it. Yeah? Yeah. All right. Now, let's go back where you were. And actually what we're going to do here is I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to move this right out of the way because this isn't really necessary. Put it right there. You can let me know when it's in the right space. I'm willing to adjust. Yeah, okay. Uh-huh. We're talking detail orientation, aren't we? All right. There's a saying in almost every religious scripture that says that if you take a step towards God, God will take a step towards you. Whether you think of it as God or spirit or the universe of confluence of ideas, of desires, what happens if as you move towards this, and how is that different than your usual experience of going for the goal?
Well, it feels more like, I guess, physical. Like, I feel more drawn to it.
You did?
Yeah.
Well, just take a moment, take a breath, and notice what's different. Go back here, because you're used to.
I'm used to seeing it in front of me, and like, it seems like I'm closer to it when it's here, but I also don't see it then.
Yeah.
It's like, feels like either I already have it or I don't see it or I don't think about it.
Okay, right now?
Right now it's fine.
Right now it's
I
there.
can see it and it's clear to me.
Right. And you're used to this thing of having to make efforts to go get it, yeah?
Yes.
But what if you and the goal were part of a system, and as you went towards the goal, it also came towards you?
I would get it faster.
Yeah, and how does that feel different from how you normally think of going for goals?
Well, it feels, I guess, emotionally better.
It does it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that it comes to me, then we
Well, let's really try that one. Go back here. And I know it's in the wrong place. Don't worry about that for a moment, all right? I'm going to turn and talk to them. And that is that, you know that some people are able to attract what they want. You know these people? You met these people? You've been jealous of these people? You thought it was unfair? Yeah, okay. Well, let me tell you quickly a story of John F. Kennedy when he was a young man. There's a lot of stories about him now. But when he was a young man, he had back problems. He spent the better part of his sophomore year in college in the hospital recovery place because he couldn't go out. So he had to have his books brought to him, and if he wanted to socialize, he had to have come and people talk to him. So he learned how to be conversational and witty and tell jokes and make it so that people wanted to come and see him. He learned to be attractive. Now, other people don't need to learn to this because of certain physical attributes they attract. And if you ever get a chance to talk to some of them, you'll find out that their life isn't as sweet as you think because they have to develop a whole different strategy. Instead of figuring out what they want and going for their goal, they have to learn to say no. It's triage because they get all sorts of offers they actually don't want. But they want the offers to keep coming. So they've got to find graceful ways to turn. It's a completely different strategy. Well, here's the thing. If you've had experiences of attracting, if you found yourself in a situation that required you to create that strategy, then you'd have both going for your goal and attracting your goal. But a lot of us never had that second experience. And yet, we can introduce that possibility now. What I'm going to suggest here is when I get this in the right place for you. That's right. Thank you. And now, I'd like you to, in whatever way it makes sense to you, is to attract that goal. Feel yourself being attractive, irresistible, drawing it towards you. That's right, and feeling it and going, yeah, having it come on there. And you're attracting it more, and breathing is not optional in this process. And continuing to breathe and attracting that goal to you. Take a breath and let it out slow. I'll let you hold that a moment there. And how is that different from your other way of experiencing goals?
It's more effortless.
Yeah, it's more effortless. Would you like to be able to do that?
Yes.
Yeah. So let's do that once more. And what are we doing here? Going back to this morning, we're creating a distinction. That the distinction before that he had was that there's him, there's the goal. We all have this. There's a displacement, if you will, in space. It's the brain's way of saying, you don't have this yet. It's not over here. It's not in you. It's outside you. That's how we know we don't have a goal. And then a number of us have to develop strategies of getting over barriers and around problems and slogging our way or climbing our way or whatever to our goal. And we develop a lot of distinctions on how to do that. My colleagues and myself in NLP Comprehensive developed a whole tape set around that called NLP, the New Technology of Achievement. It was all about how to get to your goals. Well, then I began to think about that, and I thought, well, wait a minute, there's the other side of this. There's people who attract goals. But first of all, they got to know what that experience is like. Yeah? So once again, you can be directive in terms of my game. A little closer this time? Yeah? Oh, okay, I got the I overcompensated. All right. And once again, I'd like you to, whatever way you feel yourself attracting that goal, go ahead and you concentrate on that. Feeling that fully and completely, sure if you want, fully and completely, you're drawing it towards you.
Faster.
Yeah. It's like a magnet. The closer you get, faster it goes. Take a breath. Now, I'm not saying that if you have made the distinction of feeling attractive and having the goal come for you, now you have the power to bring goals towards you. Rather, you now have an experience that you can begin to wonder what behaviors would encourage attraction. This is what Kennedy did. He said, I got to be attractive. I'm lying in a bed. I can't go anywhere. In a Boston accent, of course. So how am I going to be attractive? And in your case, you now have an experience. You've made a distinction of you attract and it comes toward you. Now you can begin to wonder, what are ways? Because of course, girls, whether, ladies, you can bet at certain points he's done things that have been attractive. You've got that boyish thing going on really big time. You know. And undoubtedly, you've said things that interested people about your work, about what you do, and they went, yeah? And so in those ways, we all have little bits of experience that he never gathered up till now that are, you know how to attract. You just never gathered those before because you didn't have the distinction of experience to put them with. You want to do one more?
Sure.
All right, one more. Because I don't want you to get that there's just going for, right, and then attracting. When you begin to realize how language can help you make a distinction of experience, then you're on your way with this material. So you want this. Your picture? How did you know not to want this?
How did I know not?
This is a really nice picture. Why don't you want what this goal is?
Because I know what that one is.
Right. He knows what that one is. And that sounds like a simple comment. And it's more profound because we don't know what to want unless we've already had some of it. Does that make sense? That is, you want a goal, it means in some sense you got to taste. There's a Sufi phrase that he who tastes knows. And I bet that applies to she who tastes knows as well. So it's like this. Your goal is out here in almost the right place for it.
Perfect. Well, you had it perfect right before you did that.
All right. And in a way you haven't imagined until now, you already have this goal in you and behind you in the perfect place. That is that some of this goal is already there. And with each step forward, it's going to become more and more realized. And what if you did that right now? So you sense the goal there in you, because you can't know to want this. I showed you another picture. You didn't know how to want it. That means this one's already in you.
Right.
And it's also not completely in you. And what if with every step forward, it became more and more inside you? Try that out. Yeah, you like that?
Mm-hmm.
That's another way of creating a distinction about what our goals are. That they're not just events and places down the road. It isn't like going down to Denver or some other town. And what's down because we're up. Rather, it isn't an exact place. And of course, Denver isn't an exact place. It's rather that we know where we want to go because we've already got part of it there. And sometimes we forget that. We could only want, in some sense, a little of what we know. Okay? Take that with you. Thank you very much. So this next exercise you're going to do with each other in pairs is both an example of the kind of work we're beginning to do and a way of convincer, if you will, that the difference that this difference can make. Now, some of you may already find that you are attractive and you do attract. And you go, yes, I go for goals and I attract. Well, if that's the case, come to me and I'll give you another way to do it. Because it's like I said before with the meta programs, once you realize what the categories are, and once you realize what you want to do is make more distinctions, then you can start to play with this material in experience. So questions about the exercise? Okay, you don't need the board. You need a steady hand, especially if you work with these detail-oriented people. And they're going to create this distance between themselves and the goal that's natural for them. And if you want to find out how detail-oriented they are, you can get a little step ahead in this program, kind of go like that and see what happens. And you'll see they'll go, you know, or they'll go, no, 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 and it doesn't make any difference. For some people, you can go like this. It doesn't make any difference. For other people, these are the people, you know, where they have to straighten the pictures? Yeah, I go around and become crooked. So you find that out, and then you let them walk to their goal like they usually do. That's their usual way of doing things. They have a lot of distinctions about that strategy. Then you have them go back to their place, and then you do where they move forward, you move the goal forward. If they don't move, you don't move the goal. If they move quickly, you move quickly, right? Complete matching. Do that one. Notice what they experience. Person who's doing it, notice what you're experiencing. Do it again. Then the attraction one. Watch them doing attraction. Now, if they start to look like they're going to bust a vessel, you know, like, you might suggest another kind of attraction. Like, you know, so in other words, you want them to do an attraction where they're going to be breathing and open and resourceful, not straining. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, and if it's quiet, if it's kind of quiet, you know, I could see you want to do that. So then you're going to watch them, and they'll give you a signal that they're attracted. Maybe they'll kind of nod. Maybe their head will come forward. Maybe they'll be subtle and go, hey, move it. And so then you move it in and let them have that experience. You're watching, is this news of difference? Is this a new experience for them? If it is, make sure that they breathe it and enjoy it, and then do it again. Because we are the greedy agents of change. And we want them to be thoroughly familiar with this feeling of attracting. And then, as I said, and this is a little bit hypnotic, this is why we're in an advanced seminar, then I start to say, because everyone's attractive in some situations. Everyone's done things that they found attention, that they got attention. You just never put them together until now. You realize how that's a process instruction? You know, a little Ericksonian hypnosis there, not very much, just a process instruction. That they do have experiences, and it's true. They didn't have a word for it, or rather they had a word for it and said, other people have that skill, not me. It only happens intermittently with me, but when you feel, go, oh, that's what it feels like, then you can put those together. Third one, if you want to do the next one, is that in order to be attracted to this goal, they have to know to want it. They already have to have it in them. So instead of separating the goal, they have to go get the goal. It's the closer they get to the goal, the more it shows up in them. Again, a different kind of distinction than the way they sorted it before. And have this stepping up, and you were great. You get up everything, I know. You know, it's this, take it in, take it in. Have them breathe, enjoy the moment, and then switch partners.
It seems very qualitatively different to the process of well-formed outcomes, where you actually, what I do is walk into the desired place. It seems qualitatively different.
It is qualitatively different. We made sure the goal's well-formed at the beginning, or rather, I took it to you that each of you as master practitioner candidates would know about that, and I reviewed the essence of that, the 5 conditions. And just because you do it that way, people tend to put these thoughts together as one thing. And they do the habit. And if your habit was to go and get your goal, you may be very good at that. And yet, in a sense, you're denying yourself a whole other range of possibilities. The goal is well formed. Now you can have the experience of attracting it.
But the assumption in the other one is that there is a gap.
Well, there's a gap. That's how you know you don't have it. It's displacement. That's what people step into the goal and they go, I got it. I don't need to do anything. Step out of that goal. You know, the idea is that goals are both resources and they're also designed to create directions in life. Yeah. Ready to go? Maybe 5-7 minutes on each side. We'll check in with you in 20 minutes. Let's go.